Hello everyone and welcome back to another review of Chief of War. My name is Joe. Welcome to the channel of Delusional Theories. No delusional theories today. We're just enjoying a good show. By the way, you guys, on another video, I got a hate comment about the fact that I enjoy the things I watch too much and that I am uncharismatic. I think that was just because I burped in the video and I'm a woman and women don't burp. But here we go, another crazy video of me enjoying shows. My first thought when watching this episode, and I'm gonna be kind of reviewing it, commenting on it, in the chronological order that we see on the episode, because I have a lot to say. But the first thought I had was how crazy it must have felt for Guyana to have to create this whole entire life for himself outside of the literal world that he knew. It's not just that he left his home to some other place, because when I left my home to some other place, I had a concept of that place. You know, when I left to go live in another country, and then in another country, I knew where I was going. I knew how society was somewhat organized where I was going. But he left to the unknown. He has no idea how societies are organized. He doesn't even speak the goddamn language. And I thought it was interesting to see how, like, we get him learning English and then we get the English counterpart in Hawaii teaching English, you know? We never hear him speaking Hawaiian, the Hawaiian language. We never hear him saying ohana or that's the only word I know, so sorry. They immediately, Lilo and Stitch taught me one word, and immediately when they said, some character said Ohana, I knew what it meant. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting that we see Kayana learning the English language, but then we don't see the English dude in Hawaii learning the Hawaiian language. Like, we never hear him speak it. We hear a bunch of characters speaking in English, and I'll talk about the way that English is used, like in the, with people from the Kingdom of Hawaii, because it's not really used in a way to use the language. It's kind of used in context, but I'll talk about it later. But yeah, I thought that aspect, like that contrast between one person from a different world, isolated in the world of white men, learning their language, and the white man who is isolated in the world of Hawaiians, teaching his language, not learning the Hawaiian language. I thought that was funny, silly to me. But actually, I wanted to mention something that I forgot to mention in my previous video, and I think I did in the description, but I wanted to say this because it's one of the coolest aspects of the show. And I noticed it from the very beginning when they are doing the little hunt for the shark to get his teeth. That this is a complete, like, the novelty, the absolute novelty of seeing this world is so wonderful. It's just wonderful because, like, if you tell me that I'm going to watch a World War II show, I know where I'm going. Like, if you tell me that I'm going to watch a sci-fi show like Foundation that I was talking about, that I got the hate comment, I know where I'm going. Like, I don't know exactly where I'm going, but I know I'm going to other planets. I know I'm going to space stations. You know, I know I'm going to very advanced technology. I'm expecting something. But with this world in the islands of Hawaii, I didn't really know where I was going. You know, I had never really seen the kind of war attire that they have, that they wear, the, you know, the traditions, the prophecies, not that unique. Similar prophecies exist in other places. But the majority of the world was very new to me, and I enjoyed that. I enjoyed being sent to a different world that I didn't know before. That was fun. You know, I would really like to see, like, now that they're doing this, right? Now that they're doing this show and it's being successful, people are enjoying it. I hope they do more stuff that isn't just focused on war, because that's the thing that I heard also criticism about, that the people who were enjoying the show were also worried that it would portray, you know, Hawaiians as very violent people. And, like, I understand. I mean, it's very easy to understand that there's violence because it's a period of war, but I would love to see, because we have some shots of that, because in this episode we follow the Kingdom of Hawaii and Kahekili hasn't gone there yet. So we already saw a little bit of it, a little bit of the paradise of it, but I would love to watch a show just about I don't know how to explain it, just not with just war focus, but really culture focused, because everything looks so beautiful. And I don't know, I think it would be interesting. I don't know what kind of drama they would create for it, but I think it would be interesting. But yeah, the only little bit that we kind of see of Kahekili and Oahu is the fact that Oahu isn't falling as fast as he wanted to, and the tactics that this man uses, like, what in the Game of Thrones? No, what in the House of Dragon? What in the Song of Ice and Fire? Because when, like, and I knew it, as soon as he brought, like, he found the last chiefs that weren't surrendering, he found them conspiring against him and, having poisoned his council and whatever. And as soon as he found them and he was like, okay, bend the knee or whatever, and he brought the family, he brought the family and he was like, choose one of them to die or bend the knee or whatever. And it was so clear that it was going to kill all of them. It was so clear. Like, I hate this man. They are establishing this king so well as this cruel, horrible person that needs to be defeated. And we even see it in the intro animation. These Apple TV shows also always have important, like, animation in the intro, and we see it, like, the territory being covered by the red of Kahekili and then by the golden that I'm assuming is the oh my god, what's his name? I forgot his name. Kamehameha. I'm so sorry. Kamehameha. The king that was promised. The prophesized king who we already meet in this episode and who eventually marries Cave Baby. I'm gonna talk about it. That was a little freaky. Actually, another interesting point of cultures around the world having similar aspects, because this is the thing, like, in many kingdoms, I think, where when the king married his wife, or the prince to be king married his wife, there would be people in the room to make sure he consummated it. And in this one, there is a lady in the room, and then the people outside can see. It was a little freaky that her father can see it, but I think, like, the way they are portraying it kind of makes it seem like it isn't the puritanical thing it is in Western societies. Like, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal for them. It's just something normal or natural or acceptable. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, I guess. But it didn't seem as problematized as it would be if, we did that practice today. Let's say like that. But also another thing that got me ick points. How many wives does he have? I know he's a chief of war, but do you need that many wives? Jesus. And honestly, the father of Cave Baby being like, I know you maybe are infertile. Do not tell him. And it's like, why not? Spare your child of having to marry this man with 100 wives. Just tell him she's infertile and make her like a counsel person. Make her a counsel to him, because if you think that your daughter is wise and smart and kind enough to provide counsel to him, to balance him, to be a good help for the battles to come, why do you have to make her a wife? Just make her his counsel, And and given that she's infertile, or potentially, as this lady prophesied, what's the point? Can't you just make her? I mean, the point is to unite the kingdoms. But, well, I think she should have been just a council person. Kamehameha. 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 I got it. One thing they did really well was establish this man as very respected, very admired, because when he's doing the rock thing, is literally to establish him as a chief of war who is admired by his soldiers. Like, all of his soldiers are like, where is he? Where is this divinity that can hold his breath for so long? And then he's just on the beach. He went there, made it through all of them, quitting, and then went back. And it just immediately establishes how much his soldiers admire him, and this will be useful in the future when they follow him into war and are so loyal to him. And then we also see when he meets, him meeting the current king was so cool. Because the son of the king was there, but then the king deferred to Kamehameha. Do you know why I'm having such a hard time of saying this name? Is because there's this Did y'all watch Dragon Ball? There's this thing with saying Kame, and it's the same thing. Did they get it from this man's name? Anyway, the prophesized king. The prophesized king is there in the room, and the soon-to-be king, the descendant of the current king, is there as well. But the king completely defers to the prophesized king. Completely. He doesn't care about his son. And it just establishes in that moment for the audience that this is the man to follow. The future king, dud. The prophesized king is the man to follow. And I thought that was done really well. And it's like, I don't think an audience member would notice it specifically this way, but because I'm so used to analyzing shows and seeing like how they build certain characters, it's just very visible that they're taking all of these little steps to establish this man as this force of nature who will one day unite the tribes. And then we go to the boat and we see Tony and Kaiana, and and then we got the ending. But when I was watching the first few scenes on the boat, I was thinking, man, I can imagine how absolutely horrendous it is to be a black man surrounded by a bunch of white men in the 18th century. Because in the beginning I was thinking this is the 19th century. This is like close to the 1900s. But no, this is late 18th century. And that ending. But I tried to put myself in his shoes and think how I would feel if I was a woman alone in that boat, and I would throw myself over the edge. I would not stay there. So I can't imagine how scared he must have been all the time, and it must have felt really good to have Kayana there. And we'll get to it in a bit, but I want to talk about the prophecy. I want to talk about the prophecy because we see the cave baby and her father talking about this. And her father kind of tells her that she has to marry this guy because he is the prophesized king. Because he was there when the baby was born. It was the day the comet passed, and he is the one. So she has to marry him to give him counsel, to be an added value for the battle to come, which is coming because Kahikili is already finishing his conquest of Oahu and will eventually move on to Hawaii. So seeing this conversation was so interesting to me because I was thinking, okay, because I understand the prophecy and I understand that a whole like faith was created around it, and it makes sense because people need something to believe in. I mean, it exists everywhere in the world. But me, an atheist little girlie, always has to find an explanation for things. And I was trying to think because it's interesting that there was this prophecy and then it came true, because when does that happen? The Catholics also have ideas of, Jesus returning, and it's not gonna, it's not gonna, but like the way that it is, and I don't know if this is completely true or not. Like, I don't know what parts of it are accurate, what parts are exaggerated for the show. I'm not sure, but it's interesting that they had like this prophecy, this very simple prophecy, which is the day these signs appear, the king that will unite the kingdoms will emerge. And everyone thought he would appear out of nowhere, and then a baby was born, and that's how he emerged. So the prophecy came true. Their beliefs came true. So I think it's interesting to try to understand how. And when this father was talking to his child, to the cave baby, I'm sorry I keep calling her the cave baby, but I don't remember her name. When they were talking about this, and he was like telling her how important it is that she marries him because she needs to be by his side to help him in the future because he is the prophesized king. And you can see that like as soon as he says that, she has a different kind of commitment to it. And you even see it when she's talking to her father, saying that she will never bear him children. And she's not saying it in a way of excusing herself from the marriage. She's saying it because she doesn't want to disappoint her father and disappoint the prophesized king. So there's this that grabs people whenever this prophecy is mentioned. And I was trying to think, how could this man really have been the prophesized king? And if the comet passed and a bunch of powerful people were standing around a delivery room as a baby was being born, because it wasn't just a random baby. It was a baby that was born to the royal families of the islands, that was born into that lineage of cousins that just marry each other and everyone is connected somehow. So you have this man who is powerful already in the kingdom, who is seeing this baby being born on the night that the comet passes. And he immediately thinks, oh, this is the prophesized king. He was born now. And potentially there's other people in the room who think the same thing. So don't you think that maybe they would have paid special attention to this child? They would have educated him in a different way. They would have demanded more of him, given him more to train him, even if it's not consciously trying to create the prophesized king, but because they already believe he is that person, they treat him like that. They give him everything he needs. They educate him. They give him as much training as they can. They prepare him to the most of their capacity. So then he does become the prophesized king who unites the kingdoms. But the question is, was he born like that? Or was he trained and educated like that because people already believed he was the king that was promised the day he was born? This is very interesting to me. This is what I was thinking the whole time. I was like, which is it? Is it nature or nurture? And I mean, it doesn't matter in the end, I guess, because he did unite the kingdoms. And the thing I liked about the English usage in the islands, not really in, the outer world, which I will get to, but in the islands was because we have this lady, the one who's going to marry the prophesized king. And she is closer to the Englishman. She learned English. She speaks a lot of English in this episode. And you can see that a lot of other people also learn English, which makes sense because English is the communication language of the pale skins who have ships who come to the islands who could potentially, they could potentially have to deal with them in the future. So it makes sense that the people in power learn the language, but they don't want to use it. It's not their language. They are having to learn it because this man came to their shores out of nowhere. So it's funny how they use it. Like they can all speak it at this point, and they only use it as little throwaway lines when the cave baby is talking to them in English. It's funny because they're using it almost as a weapon, only when it's convenient to them, and I enjoy that very much because I don't want, it doesn't make sense. Even if you learn a foreign language, you're not going to talk to your people. I'm fluent in English. I don't talk to anyone in Portugal in English, ever. I talk to them in Portuguese. The most that I'll say is yes, or don't know, because it just comes out, but I wouldn't have a conversation in English. And now let's talk about, the Englishman and Kayana in India. Those scenes, I don't remember the town they were in, but those scenes were so disgusting, the brothel and everything, and how, I think it was the Spanish there, but I mean, I'm from Portugal. The Portuguese were there very much doing crimes against humanity for a very long time. The way that they treat the locals is so disgusting, ugh. You even see the lady who is from Hawaii. I don't think, now that I'm thinking about it, they said East Indies. I don't think it was India because I'm thinking of the people who were chained, and maybe it's China because they were talking about Canton as well. Yeah, it was probably China. Anyway, so disgusting, those scenes, and when we got to the end, that final scene that closed the episode, the whole time I was like, Kayana, where are you? Come save your friend, where are you? When the guy said, I'm gonna send you back to where you belong, it hit me that this was not late 19th century. This is what I was saying. He must have been so scared being in that boat with a bunch of white men. Because as soon as one had the opportunity, he did that to him. It's never said, but what is implied is that they're going to sell him. They're going to sell him. That's what they're going to do. They're going to sell him. The way that the locals were chained by the freaking neck in that scene. Ugh. But we see Kayana there, and Tony takes him to see a bunch of weapons and whatever. And like, he had the money to buy the weapons and they didn't sell it to him. And what it felt like is like, I'm not gonna give the second class citizens the power to defend themselves. Like, ew. I'm not gonna give the people that I'm trying to enslave the power to fight back. Like, ew. I just know that when Kayana saw that little fort by the sea, when he arrived there, he was seeing like the future of his islands, and he was not happy about it. He's not happy. And I mean, I know that he wants the guns to fight Kahekili, but like, I know because I went to Wikipedia again, and I know that the Hawaiian Islands are never conquered by Britain. They have a deal or have some protection from the British, and at some point there's a coup by some English guy that is not sanctioned by the government, so then it doesn't last long. But I mean, come on. It's currently a US state. So some control was had there. I hated all the scenes there. Hated them. Horrendous. Hated them. Like, I was having a hard time with the violence from the previous 2 episodes, and now I'm having a hard time with all that disgusting chaos that the Spanish, potentially also the Portuguese, brought there. Like, I know there is a very common joke in Hawaii that includes, I don't know, I don't think you say Portuguese, but it's like a word that it means Portuguese, and I know the history of it. And I learned this very recently because I'm from Portugal. Like, I'm Portuguese. I'm currently living in Portugal. And I know that it comes from the fact that around this time of Kayana and later when the English were in the Hawaiian Highlands, there were also a lot of other people there. And I think it was the English under control. The English had control. And then there were other peoples working for the English. And it was the Hawaiian people, it was the Portuguese, it was the Japanese, and some other group of nationality. I don't remember which one. And the way that I saw it, that I learned it online, is that of all these groups of nationalities, the Portuguese were the most obedient. They were the most obedient to the English. And because they were the most obedient, they were promoted more often and then became part of the class that controlled the others. And that's why there's like this joke about the Portuguese in Hawaii, like the stupid Portuguese who are obedient to their oppressors and work for them. And when I heard, because I didn't know that, and I heard that, I don't know, a while ago, and it just scared the shit out of me because I live with them, because I live here. And we left a dictatorship like not that long ago. Currently, it's kind of feeling like dictatorship 2.0 is trying to take place here. And it's so scary to me. And this is what I keep talking about to the people around me. Like last time, what brought down the dictatorship wasn't the people rebelling, because the people did rebel. There was a lot of rebellion, but not like that. Like not like the student protests in South Korea, you know, in the 80s, in the 70s. I'm actually reading about it right now. That's why I mentioned those ones. It was the military. It was a bunch of soldiers, and I think one general or a couple generals that were like, yeah, we can't take this anymore. And they overtook the government. That's what ended the dictatorship like 50 years ago. It wasn't the people. It wasn't the very obedient people. It was the military. So yeah, when I heard that joke and I heard where it comes from, like this blind obedience that the Portuguese had to the English, my little brain was a little scared. But yeah, like you guys wouldn't imagine, because I know that the majority of the audience here is probably from Hawaii, New Zealand, and surrounding areas. Like you guys wouldn't imagine the bullshit that is happening in my country. Like recently, just yesterday, like a few weeks ago, the new government, which is like technically center-right, but very much far-right leaning government, created a new law for foreigners that was insane. And it had a lot of limitations in family, like regroupment, because it's a big thing, right? People come from a lot of different countries, and usually like the dad comes and finds a job and then brings his family. And like there are laws to protect like this regroupment. And they were trying to mess with it here in Portugal. Not to all the immigrants, just the poor ones. Just the poor ones. And the president of the country was like, No. And he sent some of the guidelines, these guidelines that included family regroupment and a couple other things, he sent them to the Constitutional Court, and the Constitutional Court just said that, yeah, these guidelines are unconstitutional. So they are sending them back to Parliament to pass the law without those guidelines. And it's really, my light is not okay. Anyway, it's really scary because, like, what people are saying now, like the comments of the population is, okay, time to change the constitution. And it's been like a threat kind of since the very beginning, because the right wing of the parliament has majority enough to change the constitution. And there's people saying that, yeah, this is what we needed, to know that the government can't pass any law that they want because of the constitution. So we're going to change the constitution. And this is so goddamn scary. And I don't think it's going to be that easy. I do think our institutions are not that easily changed and malleable and whatever. But I mean, aren't they? You know, I mean, there's presidential elections soon and everything. It's scary days. Scary days. But yeah, that's all I had to say about the episode. If you're new here, now you know that often I go on political tangents. I'm a very political person and I will not shut up about it. And especially now where, like, I keep thinking, okay, if the country falls back into fascism and there's like a modern day dictatorship, like it's happening in the US, because it is a dictatorship at this point. Like, did you hear about the law that they passed that's in some states, doctors are not obligated to provide care to pregnant women if it means it could end the pregnancy? It's, I want to believe that that's not true, because I haven't actually checked official channels. I just chatter on TikTok, so I'm hoping that's not actually true. But the changes that have been made already are disgusting. So yeah, scary times, because I keep thinking, okay, if it gets to another dictatorship here, I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna leave to Spain or somewhere else. But it's like, it's getting bad everywhere. Like, it's getting to a point where we start hearing about billionaires that are going to freeze themselves and wake back up in 20 years. Like, we're gonna have to live through this shit to create a better world, to like overcome all of this right-wing bullshit so that you can wake up when it's already good again. But yeah, welcome to me being scared of the future. If you were here doing the Handmaid's Tale reviews, you know. Anyway, guys, I will see you back here next week. Bye.